Good evening. So tonight we had the debate that was canceled a week ago by Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak so as not to show rifts in the Conservative Party. And now it's back on, and we certainly saw some rifts, as if we hadn't before. What was it that happened with Boris? That wasn't a rift? Quite a number of issues were debated, from tax and energy, Ukraine, strikes in China. And I'm sure that there's going to be a great deal written and spoken about this, many, many words, but I'm going to try to be succinct and just cover a few important points. Firstly, I have to admit that I'm really getting weary of politicians not answering questions and cleverly dodging them, even very simple ones. It's not impressive, it's not authentic, and it doesn't build trust, at least with me. When even simple and potentially non-damaging questions go unanswered, it really leaves me cold. I think it's become an habitual behavior with politicians, and one that I really wish would stop. Don't you agree? Rishi wouldn't answer Faisal Islam's question about whether there are any other countries that are raising taxes at this time, as he wants to do. He also dodged Sophie's question about whether he would send the Royal Navy in to Ukraine. Liz did give straight answers to some things, but where Rishi wouldn't, but she wouldn't even answer Chris's simple question about criticism of Rishi's expensive taste in dress sense. Secondly, it felt more as if I was watching two very experienced and talented cabinet ministers arguing their case to their prime minister and the rest of the cabinet, rather than watching a future prime minister. They didn't really look all that prime ministerial to me. And one of them is certainly going to be our next prime minister, and I do hope that they will develop those qualities very quickly, because we need that in a leader. We need to have that level of respect and admiration. It must be very difficult to go from where they've been and where they are now to what it is that they want to do. I do understand that. Although he was far more collegial earlier on, I did notice that Rishi was rather aggressive in the early stages with Liz. He kept interrupting her, and she unfortunately let him do that and had to be saved a number of times by Sophie. As far as I'm concerned, at the end of the day, after all the talk, we really were presented with only one concrete issue where we can form an opinion and make a clear choice, I think, and that is the question of taxes. Rishi wants to raise them, although he promises vague cuts in the future, and Liz wants to do a bit of cutting now on national insurance and green energy. And here's the crux of the matter, and here's why I'm talking tonight, from the point of view of my area of expertise, which is personal finance and credit. Unfortunately, the things even Liz proposes are nowhere near what Britons really need today to gain some relief from this terrible cost of living crisis. I have enumerated all the things the government could easily do for months now, and there's no talk about them. For example, interest rates weren't mentioned. VAT on petrol wasn't mentioned in tonight's discussion. This is key. We're being triple taxed on petrol, and neither of these candidates even said a word about it. They are really out of touch with what the public is talking about. Did they really forget about the blockades on the roads, French style, a couple of weeks ago? How could they not even mention that? They're really out of touch. I have been talking with one of the Talk TV presenters about getting a coach, inviting these two candidates on it, and going to have some cold beans suppers, or no suppers, empty plate suppers, with some families around the country so they can really get a sense of what people are living with today. Why Rishi has this compulsion to pay back the debts built up during COVID as quickly as possible is beyond me. It overwhelms me, but then he's the man who thought that giving us 5p off petrol was going to be helpful. Liz says she plans to start paying back the COVID debt only after 3 years, and yet she didn't deny Rishi's accusation that even her financial advisors say that her plan is going to take us to interest rates of 7%. We just went in the last year from 0.1 to 1.25. We're at 1.25 now and probably going to go to 1.75 in August, according to Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England. 7% compared to that is going to cause mayhem to millions of Britons. Don't these people realize this? These are election speeches, for goodness sake. How can they not deal with these things? So it was rather all over the place, and frankly, it made me feel that it was something I would have rather not had to watch. Whatever you think of him now, I do believe that if those 1,800 or so Tory party members who want Boris on the ticket with these two individuals, so that there are three candidates, had been able to get him in there tonight, whatever you think of him, it would have been a completely different debate. And we would also know for sure whether he does or doesn't have the mandate of the country, the support of the people and its real voters. I guess that's why the poll that I ran yesterday and today on social media showed that 54% of the people voted ahead of the time that they were going to be disappointed tonight. Let's hope that things improve from here. Thank you very much.